All right, guys, how are we doing today? Steve Mingle, Final Web Design. In today's video, I want to go through another video that talks about how LLMs and AI make zero sense and what we can understand from that. So let's get into it.
Final Web Design, this is Steve.
All right, so let's get into it.
What has AI produced? AI generated corn, videos of Diddy versus Epstein battling in Dragon Ball Z style. Where has it benefited our lives? Today I wanted to talk about everything that doesn't make sense to me about AI. The first thing that I noticed that's extremely strange about AI, and especially the way that people talk about it, at least in the tech world, is that benchmarks and rankings are more important than customer experience. So every time a new model comes out, you see all these software engineers talking about, look at this chart, look at that chart, look how many billion more inputs or trillion inputs, and how much more accurate this model is in that model. And at the same time, every time the model goes live, you go onto social media, X, Twitter, whatever, and you're almost guaranteed to see two things. One, people saying that the current model is worse than the previous model. And the second is that people are saying that the previous model has regressed. In other words, it's performing poorly relative to itself just days or weeks ago.
Isn't that the truth, especially probably in the last even week or two? These new versions that have been coming out with Claude and with ChatGPT are getting incredibly scrutinized over actually being a step backwards in a lot of ways, and that problems are arising, hallucinations are arising, and things are not working as the AI is intended to work, and it's actually taking a step backwards. So maybe we can get into an idea of why that's starting to happen, what's causing that, and if there is a way to still save the LLMs from ultimately, getting worse over time as opposed to getting better.
So that doesn't make sense to me. The next thing that doesn't make sense is the use case and results of AI. Now, I want somebody to please show me an app that is AI, completely AI written, that generates $100,000 a month or $15,000 a month that hasn't already proven itself to be a fraud.
Isn't that the truth also? Every time you go on to read about AI and stuff, people are like, well, how do you ultimately make money with this? And what people don't understand is apps, websites, that's only a fraction of the process. If you're not marketing, if you don't have a user base, if you don't have customers on your application, it doesn't matter. So AI, yes, it's a tool to get you there, a tool out of a huge toolbox, but it's not going to make you a millionaire. And that's what I think people are starting to realize is like all this hype without marketing budgets, without, a team behind it to actually push it, the AI is not going to make you a successful application that you can just run.
Think about it. We've been told that AI will be there to cure Alzheimer's and it will explore human consciousness in ways that we haven't experienced before. But all that I've seen is slop companies that have reached billions in valuations or revenue that have been exposed as total frauds. CoffeeZilla just made a video about this, Medvi. It was a telemarketing health GLP-1 selling company, and its testimonials were AI generated, its doctors were deep fakes, its reviews were all totally fraudulent. Even the packaging of the GLP-1 on the website was missing characters. So AI hasn't been used as a tool to do anything that was promised. It's just been used as a tool to fraud. And when you think about it, what is vibe code?
That's very true as well. A lot of what you're seeing with AI is, like you said, people creating testimonials, people replying to emails, all this information that's not even real. People are just having the AI write it and acting as if it's the real information. And people are starting to realize that you can see it in how emails are written with the dashes and things. You just know that nobody's actually put thought, time, and that's why ultimately you're finding that a lot of this is just getting exposed as a fraud. These companies are valued at billions and trillions of dollars, and ultimately billions of dollars, and ultimately what are they actually producing as far as generating a revenue?
Coding. At some level, it's frauding. You're frauding your ability to code. Sure, I understand that you can use AI as a software engineer and verify its outputs if you already have some sort of background in AI, but for those people that don't have any background, they're essentially frauding. And you can tell if somebody's a fraud by how many lines of code they've generated. Because we all know that code quality is not reflected in lines of code at all. Let's think about other use cases. What has AI produced? AI generated corn, okay, videos of Diddy versus Epstein battling in Dragon Ball Z style. Where has it benefited our lives? Where has it improved our lives? I'll let you answer that question. Today's video is
Well, I'll answer that question as far as where it's improved our life as a business is ultimately it's just making things faster and easier to get out. But again, it's a lot of slop that we're putting out. I'll admit, even us. I mean, we're putting out more slop because we're trying to save time. Like this morning, I had a big email. I had to get a proposal for an SEO digital marketing customer. And what did I do? I went straight to AI. They brought it all together. I did it in about an hour, which would have taken me half a business day before. And I'm looking back at what I sent, and I'm like, man, that's not exactly the information I wanted to get across. And in some ways, it actually kind of makes me look, I don't want to say dumb, but it doesn't make it look promising, or it doesn't make it look like I can fill those promises because the AI generated it all, even though at the end of the day, I know what needs to be done for the SEO and digital marketing. So again, it's slop, and that's how it's helping my life. But ultimately, is that helping? If I would have done that, might I lose this customer because I didn't put in the time today? Might I lose this sale because I just spun a bunch of AI content to them? It's very possible looking at what I sent.
a week ago, I was on stream, and when I call in, and after that call in, I talked about how I decided to subscribe to Claude Code to give it a try. And the task that I gave it to do involved formatting text as code. So, text that was Python code would be formatted as a Python code block. And as I was watching it perform that task, it generated the same function and pasted it in like 4 different places instead of placing it in one place and then just reusing it 4 times. So I don't know why it was hallucinating. This is the tip of the spear model, essentially. And it's performing worse than an intern, all right? I want to show you guys another thing. I'm going to put this on the screen. Okay, has anybody seen this guy's reels before? This is somebody on Instagram and TikTok that kind of exposes the blatant holes in these models. And I'm gonna play this video for you because it's really interesting.
I'm gonna run a mile and you just time me how long it takes, okay? When I say go.
Okay, I ultimately did see this, and Sam Altman does come back with a response, but it's pretty just like, oh yeah, we're gonna fix it in the future. Well, we're living in today, and this information is being put out there today, so it either needs to work or not.
You got it. I'll be ready. Just say go when you start, and I'll keep track.
Okay, ready, go.
All right. I've started timing. Just focus on your run, and I'll be here when you get back.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back. I've got your time right here. How do you feel about that, Mark?
How long was it? What?
You clocked in at around 10 minutes
10
and
minutes.
12.
I swear I was faster than that.
Sometimes it feels faster in the moment.
So yeah, I mean, it's just spitting out a bunch of information that doesn't even make sense, and you can see you got caught with this reaction. Oh yeah, we knew about that.
Llevas meses usando
We knew that
GitHub
was gonna
Copilot,
happen.
Cloud Code.
We saw that coming. Yeah, but did you? And if you did, why is that pushing that out there to the public?
Did you show that to your product guys?
No, that's a known issue. Maybe another
That's a known
year.
issue.
Another
Something
year?
like that works well.
What's that known issue?
That model doesn't have that voice model doesn't have tools to like start a timer or anything like that.
So what you just saw is Sam Altman stating that their latest model, GPT 5 point whatever, 3, 4 at this point, I don't really keep track, I don't care to, doesn't have a timer built in and doesn't understand the concept of time really well. What does that mean? We need to throw another $1 billion at it just to understand time, or just for it to have timing functionality, the same functionality I have on a cell phone? Does that make sense to you guys? All right, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is like the marketing hype cycle, okay? As I mentioned, the moment these models drop, your favorite streamer is already talking about, this model is the most dangerous one yet, or this model is blah, blah, blah. How they've been able to come to that conclusion in 5 minutes, I have no idea. Maybe they have a direct line to the company's marketing team. I don't know. All right? But it's a cycle that we see again and again and again. And I'm so tired and fatigued. ChatGPT 2.0 is too dangerous for humanity. It's going to kill your family and take all your property, and humans will be worthless in 3 months. Another thing that doesn't make sense to me is the pricing scheme here. And I think the pricing scheme here is intentionally predatory. What do I mean by that? $20 a month for access to these models, in my opinion, is dirt cheap. It's almost like giving it away for free. When you think about the amount of resources that these models need to consume. They consume like 30% of the sun's freaking solar energy and 50% of the ocean's water just to stay afloat.
So that's a big thing that's coming out, obviously, now is the cost behind all this, and if it's actually worth what we're using to produce all this information. when a lot of it, like you said, is just being done for stupid Epstein videos and things like that. Final web design, this is Steve.
Just to keep running. Let's take a more concrete look at that. Microsoft's filings, right? They show that OpenAI lost $12 billion in one single quarter and will need to continue to lose $140 billion before it's projected to be profitable. Has any startup
$140 billion is absolutely unheard of for a startup.
in the history of humanity ever bled that much money and survived? Where's all this money coming from? Not to mention, this is just money that they're losing in terms of profitability. They're also tying up money in other projects and making commitments, outsized commitments relative to their profitability. Right? Where's all this money coming from? We saw what happened with Sora. Sora got shut down. Why? Because even internally, there was memos that stated that this is not sustainable. It's losing $15 million a day. What sort of company is happy to launch a product that loses them $15 million a day? And we know that they're not happy about it because they shut it down. We used to live in a world, guys, where software became progressively cheaper as hardware improved. Now AI has inverted that equation. Hardware is becoming progressively more expensive to feed models that are becoming sometimes worse. And when they do become better, they become 1% better for every 10% more hardware resources that they need to.
So why are we tying up all this money, all this resources into making our lives more expensive while getting a less good product? Ultimately, is what's being said. And I think we do have to kind of take a step back and look at that. Like, yeah, these are great tools, but at the end of the day, like everything else is getting higher. Chips, computers, RAM, all these pieces that are needed are getting more expensive, while the actual output from the AI, the code, the responses, the data, is actually taking a regressive step back.
Consume. That's a cost. The scaling is brutal. These models that are now, 5% more accurate. All right, we need 5 times more inputs, guys. We need 5 times more data centers. We need 5 times more electricity. That's not sustainable. Where's the scalability here? There are 3 directions that I see this going. The first is bankruptcy, the most likely, once this bubble pops. The second is that they somehow find a way to decrease costs, and if that was going to happen, they would have done it by now. And the third way is they're going to increase price dramatically. They're like burning half the sun's energy as input, and they're giving it to you for $20 a month. You really think it's going to be that cheap for that long, given the amount of exponentially growing inputs they need to feed these models? No, they're undercutting the market. They're saying, get hooked on this for an unreasonably cheap price, pretend that this will replace all other technology in your organization. And so once we've cut the rung from under the junior developers and these companies run by boomers that think $20 can replace a software engineer, we're going to increase the price.
Oh, that was a great thing. When you think $20 can replace a software engineer, and that's what I'm finding with a lot of clients and stuff. They're looking at me like, "Whoa, here we just have ChatGPT." Sure, go do it, but ultimately, that's not going to work. And you're going to come back to me, which you already are. And they're like, "All right, let's just build this thing the proper way," because you can't really come up with a business product out of just AI without a tech senior engineer managing it all.
We've already seen price increases. We haven't seen them directly per se in monthly prices in some companies, but in others we've seen, for example, a $200 a month subscription. Wait till that $200 a month premium subscription becomes $1,000 a month. Then the new normal will be $1,000 a month for the regular subscription. Oh, and those tokens that you're using at your company, that bill that used to be $100,000 a month AI bill, yeah, now it's a $1 million, $10 million a month AI bill. Companies will be clamoring for developers, but they're not going to be there because we're going to remember what you did to us. And the ones that have somehow magically, survived and they've gotten jobs and they've developed themselves, they're going to, in a sense, develop a bit of loyalty to companies that didn't want to replace them with AI, right? So the pricing makes absolutely no sense. These are just things that I think about when I think about AI, because I'm not somebody that's terminally online reading about all these models, but I don't think I need to be to understand that there are holes and there are flaws.
Well, there you go. I couldn't agree more. The more time I'm spending in AI, the more time I'm realizing it's almost just a mess, because to the clients now, they think everything's free, everything's easy. To the actual users and the developers, we're sitting here like, yo, this stuff doesn't do everything and just wash our hands. Like, in fact, some cases, as explained, we're actually going back in there and doing more work to try to re-engineer these projects that are spitting out bad code. They're doing things, like you said, adding multiple functions throughout the code base, things that just professional developers wouldn't do, and professional applications are going to need to work properly. So with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed another AI LLM video, and we'll catch you in the next one.